welcome back to another episode of the PokerNews podcast. I'm your girl, Sarah Herring, joined by Chad Holloway and Jeff Platt. We have a great show for you. This week, Chad talked to a couple of homies, Ryan Feldman and Nick Vertucci, who are putting together a pretty cool, it sounds like, live streaming show at the Hustler. We will get into that very shortly. Also, Nick Vertucci may or may not be like coughing up along for part of it. So just prepare yourself for that. But he seems like a really cool guy. Actually, I did a little bit more research about both of these gentlemen after the interview. And I actually feel like I didn't know enough. I clearly didn't follow Live at the Bike hard enough. Chad, what's your relationship?
You know, I hadn't really met them, talked to them very much before, especially Nick. I knew Ryan Feldman from his work at Live at the Bike. Nick was more of a player. You know, I was not like the hardcore fan where I watched every show, but I had seen enough Live at the Bike to know who they were. And so when they said that they were going to offer this new show, I was pretty excited. It is the Hustler Casino Live. It's going to launch in 2021 at the Hustler Casino in LA. A lot of things like Live at the Bike, but think, maybe bigger and better, if you will. You know, Feldman had a recipe when he left Live at the Bike. It was certainly felt there. So I think a lot of people are pretty excited to see his new venture. And that's why we got him on the show to talk about it from both perspectives. These two guys met while playing at Live at the Bike. Nick Vertucci was a player and decided to be a business partner with Ryan Feldman to do this. And they'll get into all that. It was a good chat and very enlightening, and definitely something I think for the poker world to get excited about come 2021. You know, live streams have been under fire, if you will, in 2020, but they're very well aware of that fact and going to address it, make sure that players and fans alike feel comfortable. And yeah, like I said, I'm definitely looking forward to that show.
Yeah, but also the question is, I realized that you didn't ask Nick Vertucci about his side hustles and his other businesses, because when I was doing the research, he's like a house flipper. He owns, I don't know, like 10 other companies. And I was just thinking, maybe we could do another side podcast where we find out a little bit more about how we can all make some money so we can also play high stakes poker. I mean, Jeff's rich, but for Chad and I, obviously.
You'll be happy to know, Sarah, that there's going to be an article on PokerNews.com with these two guys as well. So not only do we have them on the podcast and a video on PokerNews, there's going to be an article as well. And we do talk a little bit, or at least highlight a little bit, about Nick Vertucci's background as a successful longtime businessman. So there's a little bit in there. We don't delve too heavy into it, but certainly seems to have had some successes. And like I said, I'm pretty confident that this new show that they're going to have is going to be a big success as well.
Jeff, what's going on in your life this week?
Oh, hello, Sarah. Hello, Chad. This week is a big week. You know, we have high stakes feud, Daniel Negreanu versus Doug Polk. I'm doing the commentary for GG's YouTube channel all week. That'll be GGpoker.tv at the time of taping this podcast. It is Wednesday. I'll be joined, Sarah, by your guy, Egyptian, Mr. Patrick Tardif today. I believe Mr. Kakati tomorrow, and then Friday, I do think it will be myself, Brent Hanks, and in her return to poker content, one Amanda Negreanu. So Sarah, this stream on Friday is a stream that I think that even you would enjoy. We're going to really forget about the poker. The poker is going to be on in the background, but we're just going to drink. We're going to have some cocktails. We're going to have a good time on a Friday, a happy hour stream of sorts.
I'm just happy that it's going to happen, Jeff. Yesterday, when I went to go watch the stream, there was this quick drama, if you will. I seen Bill Perkins tweet about there being a disagreement between Negreanu and Doug Polk. It kind of blew up quite a bit, in the poker world. There's an article on Poker News, and then after the fact, Phil Galfond played mediator, and Negreanu said it was kind of blown out of proportion. But it was certainly an interesting evening last night. Involving, I mean, do you know the whole story about what kind of caused this kerfuffle?
Kind of. So wait a minute. You're implying, Chad, that Bill Perkins has exaggerated a little bit of drama.
I mean, he did single-handedly deliver the biggest, most dramatic cheating scandal in the history of poker that made the Postle situation look like Sunday school, right? Or something like that. I don't remember how he phrased it, but he does have a knack for the dramatic, we'll say, a flair for the dramatic.
Yeah, so long story short, the issue revolved around how Doug Polk was doing his studying from prior hands that were taking place in the match. WSOP.com's client does not allow for hand histories to be exported. So Doug wanted to go and check out his hand histories. There was a little bit of a disagreement as to how he was doing that. And again, I want to emphasize a little bit of a disagreement, but still, that's why they had Phil Galfond as their master judge, ruler, arbitrator of sorts, so that they could go to Phil with any issues that they had. I'm not sure exactly how they solved the issue. I just know that the issue was solved after talking all three of them, Polk, Negreanu, and Galfond on a call. They came to a resolution very quickly. I knew once Perkins said match delayed due to disagreement over rules, I was like, there's maybe a 1% chance that they won't play on Wednesday, their next scheduled match. So they are still totally good to go. Perkins blowing it up way out of proportion again. The first to break the news that now Doug was not pleased, to say the least, with Perkins taking this conversation publicly. So I think the most drama that came out of this entire thing was Doug Polk versus Bill Perkins, and Polk being like, dude, this is private, back off a little bit. But again, we're here, we're playing, we're good to go.
So I guess this whole situation has been resolved, if you will, but the question is, because remember when there was the 25K fantasy draft question, which was, does this when the WSOP added a tournament, right, last minute, like, does that count in your fantasy draft points, blah, blah, blah. There's all this speculation about what we were going to do in the 25K fantasy draft about adding a tournament. And then they decided to have an impartial 3-person panel make this ruling or decision, of which Phil Galfond was the head. What does it take to, and also he doesn't get paid for this. Like, is Phil Galfond like the president of poker, basically? Like, what is the deal here?
I think the other two were Jason Somerville and Mike McDonald. And that, I think it was in that 3-person jury over the summer. They're like the Supreme Court of poker, right? They got like these lifetime appointments of being the high standard, the law of the land, if you will. And, it's because of their reputation and their credibility. But it does seem like Phil Galfond is, the leader of that, if you will. And he doesn't ask for it by any means. It's just he's positioned himself in such a way in the poker world that people respect him so much. They think that he's got a stellar reputation, which he does, and that what he deduces and uses logic to come his decisions, that people are going to abide by them. And I think that if there is a dispute, he certainly is a good mediator to turn to, and this was a great example of that. Like Jeff said, we don't know exactly what was said, but it seems like all parties are certainly happy with what they decided upon.
Like, let's just say you may or may not be in a situation where you're being tried for murder. Is Phil Galfond the person that you want to be in charge of making your look at the poker community? Are we all going to agree that Phil Galfond is the person who's going to decide our fates in basically every situation?
I mean, it probably depends if you actually committed the murder or not. If you actually committed the murder, I don't want, Phil Galfond to be the judge. I see him as he's like the commissioner of poker. He's like the Adam Silver of poker. There's an NBA reference for you, Sarah, on NBA.
If you did commit the murder,
day.
You want me to be the judge, right?
Yeah, yes, I absolutely do. To be like, he committed it, but I understand it. There was some drama going on. I totally get it.
Let this guy out. Come on.
Yeah.
Phil Galfond's wife's tweet, Farrah Galfond, was perfect in response when Bill Perkins said, Phil Galfond time. She said in her tweet, with all due respect, at Phil Galfond has his own challenge that he is losing to worry about. She always has those timely, absolutely hilarious tweets, and that was definitely one of them.
Which I feel like then that's just such a seamless transition, right? Like, do we need to what's the latest update on the Galfond challenge? Seems kind of status quo to last week-ish.
Yeah, so Chad, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that after yesterday's session where Galfond won about 45K, that puts Chance to up like $175,000 or so. So Chance was building a big lead. Remember, Chance was a big underdog going into this challenge. He started things off very well. I think they're 15,000 hands in. They plan to play 35. 1,000 hands, and it's a really good start for Kornuth. And I think now the guys at PokerShares have it as a flip, whereas the Polk Negreanu match is also very close. They're not even 10% of the way done with it yet. Doug Polk has a slight lead in that one. He's up about $90,000, which isn't much in the world of 200, 400, no limit, Texas Hold'em. And the guys at PokerShares still have Doug Polk as a heavy favorite over Daniel Negreanu.
Might be a good way to just make some money up in here.
Yeah, a little 5-1 action on Mr. Negreanu.
Did you want to say something, Chad, before I go to a break?
Well, I mean, I guess, no, I guess this is as good a time as any to plug Run It Once, right? Yeah. Because that's Phil Galfond's site, and that's what we're talking about. So let's do it.
That's right. So if you guys are looking for a site that's run by someone who has so much integrity that he is literally the judge and spokesperson of the poker industry, you want to check out Run It Once. Run It Once is a brand new online poker site founded by poker superstar Phil Galfond, who has the player's experience at heart. Run It Once plans to make online poker fun and less predatory while providing ample rewards and innovative features at the same time. All new Run It Once players who download the software via PokerNews are entitled to a 100% deposit bonus worth up to €600. What makes this welcome bonus unique is that you can make as many deposits as you like for that first 30 days after your first deposit. This makes it perfect for those players who do not want to or cannot deposit $600 in one chunk. Be sure to check it out at once.run/pnpod. That's once.run/pnpod. Well, we spent a lot of time on our special bonus episode last week talking about the European Poker Tour moving online, and they have reached a final table. Chad, why don't you talk us through a little bit of that, please?
Headlining the final table of the $5,200 buy-in in the main event is there's some actually pretty recognizable names. We've got Timothy Adams, who we all know well from playing on a lot of the EPTs. He's had a lot of success, played a lot of the high rollers. David Yan, aka Miss Oracle from New Zealand, is a former, I believe, Aussie Millions champ. You got Ape Styles, John Van Fleet, Enino Bozano from Brazil. So these are just some of the familiar names that we know that are at the final table, which will play out today. So next week we'll have a recap of that. Let me pull up the live updates here on PokerNews. So the total field in that tournament was 1,304 runners, a $6.5 million prize pool, and the eventual winner is going to walk away with just over $1 million. Not too shabby for the EPT online here. It's been a good week. It's been fun. It's not, we're not in a exotic locale in Europe somewhere, but this does have enough of the EPT flavor, if you will, to satisfy at least me, who's been a big fan of the tour for a while.
And let me just say, terrific turnout for the EPT overall. And Sarah, Chad, I just wanted to express how happy I was, how excited I was to see Damian Salas win a tournament on the EPT online. Damian wins the 1K last chance title for almost $120,000. Just a terrific guy, great personality, doesn't tank at all. Just absolutely thrilled to see him succeed in this poker world. Thank you. Sarah, take it away.
I was like, I sense a little bit of sarcasm here.
No, just very happy for him. Just extremely happy for him.
There are some side event winners who I am genuinely excited to and happy to see win some titles. Dominic Nietzsche took down one of the event. There's 20 events throughout the series. He took down event number 14, which was a $215 no limit hold'em event. And then you had Jens.
And he's one of those players that just doesn't win enough events. That's really exciting because you just never see him win an event.
About time he had some success.
Well, you've got other guys like Jens Kilonen, who's a great online legend PLO player, took down a PLO event. Sam Greenwood, who, the Greenwood brothers were a staple on the EPT for so many years. So for him to win the high roller event was pretty exciting. Fabian Gums, Eilis Peresinen. There's some guys who I feel have a tie to the EPT are actually winning these EPT online. So I think that's very fitting. Mikita Badziakowski is another one. So some big name winners in these EPT online events.
Well, undoubtedly, the most dramatic and exciting story from this last week was the announcement that the World Series of Poker is going to do sort of a hybrid version of the main event, and we will have all of that for you guys. But before we do, I want to go to this interview. Let's talk a little bit, Chad, to your homies who are at the forefront of trying to put together some really exciting, interesting, fun cash games that are also secure, safe, and Mike Postle free, probably.
All right, I am with our guests this week, two guys who I'm very excited about for 2021. Got a great project in the works. It's official. Contract has been signed. I am joined by Ryan Feldman and Nick Vertucci, who are the gentlemen behind the Hustler Casino Live. It will be a new live stream show debuting in 2021. Guys, thanks for taking the time to chat with Poker News, and congrats on getting that contract signed. It's pretty exciting stuff.
Thank you, Chad.
So I don't know which one of you wants to tell me and tell the listeners. Give us the gist of what this show is all about.
Hey, Ryan, why don't you go ahead and do it, buddy?
All right, I'll do it.
I know you want it.
So Hustler Casino Live is going to be a live stream poker show in LA at the Hustler Casino, which is one of the major casinos out here in the LA area. And we are building a very fancy set in the casino. We're going to be investing a lot into a high quality production. We're going to have shows 5 days a week, anything from mid stakes to high stakes. Mostly just no limit. We'll have some PLO in there as well. You know, it's going to be a really high quality production. Nick's my business partner, and we've been working on this project for a while now. And we are well connected to a lot of players in the LA area and a lot of poker celebrities or big time poker players outside of LA as well. And we feel very confident that this is going to be, without a doubt, the biggest live stream poker show out there. You know, we're going to put together the best shows. We're going to have the best production. We're going to have the best commentators. And we're really going to bring Hustler Casino to the next level as well.
Yeah, I'm certainly pretty excited about it. I know you have a long history with Live at the Bike. You're no longer with them. And, you know, after your departure, I think some people in the community thought that the show took a little bit of a hit. And so now that you're somewhere else, I think people are pretty excited about that. And Nick, I know that you had played on Live at the Bike in the past. What attracted you to, you know, become business partners with Ryan on this new endeavor?
So, yeah, you're right. I've been playing there for, gosh, a couple of years now, maybe more, pretty regularly, a couple times a week on the regular. And, you know, Ryan and I became friends. And, you know, like you said, and I would concur with this, Ryan took that that stream and really made it, and this is my opinion and a lot of other people's opinions, made it what it was and took it to a different level. And him and I became friends. But me as a business person, my whole life I've been an entrepreneur. As I'm playing, you know, I'm noticing things and I have ideas, and I just start, you know, talking with Ryan, and, you know, just one thing led to another. I mean, it wasn't like a grand plan or scheme to do anything. It just was like, hey, Ryan, like, I'm curious why you guys don't do this, and, you know, how come this doesn't happen, and this could be so much better. And again, I'm going to be very careful, which usually isn't my style. I usually am not careful at all, but I do have a lot of respect for those other guys, and I in the sense that there's a couple, like at least one or two owners that I am friends with, and I think it'll stay that way, even though, you know, obviously we're competition. But, you know, as we're going, you know, Ryan basically was telling me, well, you know, there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen, and I can't get this done, and I can't get that done, and they won't do this, and they won't invest in that. And I'm like, wow, it's crazy, because, you know, you guys got a pretty cool platform here, and all these other things could happen. And, you know, I think Ryan, you know, Ryan and I had a talk, and I just said to him, I said, man, follow your gut, because he was like really torn up about should he resign, should he walk away, because he built this thing. I said, man, that's really your call. And he just didn't feel it reflected, the way that it was going was not reflecting him. And he made a pretty big decision. I respect him for that. And again, there wasn't a big plan. And I think even Ryan was considering at the time doing his own thing, maybe getting another stream, we talked about me having some financial backing on it. And then down the line, maybe about, I don't know, this February during COVID, him and I just, beginning of the year, just said, hey, you know, can I swear? Am I allowed to swear?
Yeah, you can swear all you want.
Yeah, just said, fuck it, let's do this. And you know, we put it out there. We met with casinos, etc. And I'll tell you, and I'm sure this will come up later, I will say this not because we inked a deal there, not because we signed the agreement. The Hustler Casino management is like no other management out there. The general manager, Sean Yapple, is that how you say it, Ryan? Yapple? Anyways, he these dudes have some vision, man. And we just started talking and meeting, and these guys are awesome. So their vision and what they're going to allow us to do, we have no doubt we will have the #1 poker stream out there. We will be producing the best poker games on stream or anywhere out there. So, and I'm very reluctant to say stuff like that unless I can back it up. And I know Ryan and I will do that. So it's been cool.
I know that one of the big things in 2020 about live streams was the unfortunate live stream cheating allegations surrounding the Stones gambling hall. We won't go into specifics. Everybody knows that story, but there was a lot of, I guess, people shying away from live streams. You know, I know some tours in the Midwest that would usually do a live stream final table. Some places were like, you know what, there's a lot of controversy right now. Let's just shy away from the live streams. Obviously, live streams are great for poker. There's an audience. People love to watch it. You know, I'm glad to see that you guys are tackling a new live stream coming in 2021. But for those who might be concerned about, you know, security and things like that, you know, is that something you guys have thought a lot about?
Well, Chad, let me say this, and then Ryan will take over after that, and I'll make it quick, I hope. The reason that has been is because of sloppiness. That's my opinion. That didn't need to happen, okay? And again, we are going to make that, and this sounds like a political speech, but it's the truth. We're going to make that our #1 priority over a lot of things. And, you know, you are not going to be able to have any electronics in that room. Each player is going to have their own locker. They're not going to be able to use their phone during the stream. That's going to be particularly hard for me because I'm glued to my phone generally. But that's the way it's going to be. We're going to have security. You're going to be wanded, metal wanded, for electronics and metal in and out of there. If you have a hat on, it will be checked. You leave, you come back in, you go through the same process. Because, you know, that left a little bit of a black eye, but it didn't need to happen. And they were very sloppy. And you know, looking back on it, it was so obvious once you know what you're looking for, right? When you watch those videos. And that's just not going to happen. And Ryan, I'm sure you want to add to that.
Yeah, no, you definitely attacked most of that there. But yeah, just to add on to that, when we started putting our plans together for our own show, that was one of our top priorities. Like, we had to have a detailed plan of how are we going to attack this. There has to be a high sense of game integrity and security. The players need to trust the game. The fans need to trust the game. Without that, there's no show. And I agree. I think that other streams in the past were pretty lazy with that and pretty naive. And I think that by setting a precedent from the beginning, we're going to be leaders in the industry in game integrity and security. And so what our plan is, we're going to have a security guard outside of our like queue or bubble or room where the set is. And like Nick said, that person is going to wand everyone down 15 minutes before the show. We're going to have a set of lockers. You can't have any cell phone. You can't have any smartwatch, and you also can't wear sunglasses. So any of those items will have to be placed in a locker. Players cannot access those items while they're at the table. If they have an emergency and they need their phone for something during the show, they can come outside of it. They can use their phone, and then they have to put it back in before they go back to the table. As far as the control room members, it's the same thing, except anybody that's involved in the control room or in the production at all cannot have any of those electronic items throughout the entire show. Even if for some reason, like let's say the graphics person has to leave the room to go to the bathroom, they still can't access their phone. So any production member will not have access to anything throughout the longevity of the entire show. That's one of the best ways that we feel we can make sure that everybody feels safe and that everything's taken care of. There's other levels as well, as far as computer things and IT checks and things like that we'll also be doing. But it's very serious, and we want to make sure that we are leaders of the industry when it comes to integrity.
Yeah, definitely excited to hear that. I'm sure a lot of listeners are as well. Now, one of the things that's happening in the world, of course, is the pandemic. And I know in California, they're not allowed to have their indoor casinos. It's, you know, they can have some outdoor stuff going on. This, of course, is going to impact your guys' launch. There's no firm date set. But, you know, what's your feeling right now? I know, obviously, it's a fluid situation. A lot will change in the coming weeks and months. But, you know, is there a goal you're kind of hoping to launch by in 2021?
Ryan, you want it?
Yeah. We were told that they feel like it could be March, but we really have no idea. It's out of our control, obviously. It depends on the COVID regulations in the state of California. And, you know, LA is not exactly the best spot right now for when it comes to the numbers. So, yeah, I mean, we're hopeful. We're going to be ready probably by January, February, something like that. But, you know, we just don't know. It could be March, it could be April, it could be June for all we know. It just depends. So now we're just going to prepare. We're going to keep promoting. We're going to be ready so that if we find out, hey, we can start in 3 weeks, boom, we're going to be ready. But,
I know.
Can't wait.
I know one way you guys have been preparing is lining up some great commentators. You've got Bart Hansen, Norman Chad, David Tuckman is a good friend of mine. I play in the fantasy football league of his. So I'm excited about that. What about players? You know, when players have learned about this new show, this new game, are they excited? Are they reaching out saying, hey, I want to put my name on the list so when it does happen, I can get a seat in the game?
Yeah, we've been – so I think the difference between me and Nick and maybe like other people who run games or run shows or whatever is that me and Nick are like personally friends with like almost all of these players that you see on the show. So we have really close relationships with these people. They're not just players to us. And I would say the majority of the core players from the old stream that we knew, we've kept in touch with. So even during the pandemic when people aren't playing or there's no show, like we're talking to these people all the time, whether we're playing elsewhere with them or we're just talking to them. So, you know, I think that since the beginning, since people found out that I left the other show, I've had so many players that have reached out to me and they're like, hey man, like if you go somewhere else and do another show, because people kind of like knew if I was leaving, like maybe I would try to do something else down the road. And they said like, hey, if you end up doing something else, like I'm following you, like I play because of you. And that means a lot to me. Like hearing all the people that reached out to me, that meant like so much to me. And we feel very confident that the large majority of the key players are going to follow us. We've had a lot of conversations with some of those key players after we announced the contract, because we wanted to share that with them before they saw the news on social media. And people were just really excited. They told us they're going to come play. So yeah, you can expect all the big names, all the key players, some old faces that you haven't seen in a while. We're pretty excited about the shows that we're going to have.
All right, before I let you guys go, I want to ask, you know, we're talking about LA Cash Games and the players. I know one big guy out there is Garrett Adelstein, and I actually didn't know who he was prior to him being on Survivor, right? So I'm a big Survivor fan, and I seen Garrett was on there, and then I learned, you know, he played in LA. I watched him on Live at the Bike all the time and things like that. So either of you, both of you, have any good Garrett Adelstein stories?
Sure, Nick.
Well, the story I have is, you know, for like a year and a half, I was Garrett's ATM. So I can personally tell you a lot about him. Listen, Garrett is someone that everyone wants to watch. He's got a great personality. He never shuts the fuck up at the table, which makes for great stream when and especially with me, we're bantering a lot. But Garrett, you know, if you have 100K on the table, he has 300K on the table. If you have 200K on the table, he has 500K. So he's fun to watch. He's an action player. He's a power player, which people love to watch. He's very astute. Sometimes you hear people say maybe he's not because he's, you know, but Garrett knows how to shift up, shift down. He's an amazing player, and people love to watch him play because you can guarantee that there's a ton of action when he's playing. And, you know, he's the type of guy that makes you want to play, you know, and so I have no doubt Garrett will be seeing a lot of hands on this stream for sure. And I'm sure he'll probably take a lot of my money, but you know what? It's a fun time. I dig it. The other thing is too, I believe, and Ryan believes, that the Hustler will be the place to play mid to high stakes poker on and off the stream. I mean, Ryan and I have the ability to do a lot of things there. Ryan, you want to talk about that too? I don't want to say anything you don't think we should say, but I'll let you do that. But it's gonna be amazing ride. The stream is going to be, I bet you, in my opinion, the best produced stream out there. And then again, you'll see a lot of LA now shifting eventually to the Hustler to play mid and high stakes poker, because we're going to create an environment there that the players are going to want to play. We have the ability through the management with the gentleman that I mentioned, Sean Yapple, to be able to do this, to be able to cater to the players, to understand that, it's not the casino that has what you need. It's really your base of players. It's your clientele. And I'll tell you, I've been playing for years and years and years at every casino, and you got some really great people and some really great hosts. But I will tell you, I've seen some really weird things from upper management who get, I don't know, maybe just they're out of touch. And I just will tell you, this management there is in touch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Hustler entrusted in us to help build up their poker room. For years, they've been more of like a lower stakes place, 5-5, maybe an occasional 5-10 game. And they know that me and Nick have a good grasp on the 5-10, 10-20, 25-50 scene in LA and all the players. And so they're basically putting their trust in us to build that poker room up, bring bigger no limit games in there, get the players there. So we're going to be working hard, not just on the show, but 7 days a week, trying to get as many games as possible there, trying to people from other casinos, trying to get consistent bigger games there. And we really feel like we're going to be able to do it. And obviously having a show helps that. So yeah, we are excited about that. As far as the Garrett thing, Nick have been friends with Garrett for a long time now. Nick came into the other show around the same time Garrett did. I think Nick started a couple months earlier, but they used to play in LA for years before that together. I knew both of them from playing with them as well, from meeting them at other casinos. And when I first started with them, I wanted Garrett on the show really bad because I just felt like he had a great personality. I knew that he was big action and also a great player. I knew he was I knew he'd be fun to have on the show. And I wanted him to play, and I asked him a few times, and he was like, no, I don't really want to show my whole cards. Like, I just think it's bad. I don't want to – I'm good, right? And then once he saw the good games that I was putting together, he randomly reached out to me months later and was like, you know what? I changed my mind. I think it was when we booked Antonio Espandiar and Phil Hellmuth, and he was like, I really want to play now. I changed my mind. And he wasn't going to have a seat. And that first game he ever played was a game with Antonio Esfandiari. He wasn't going to have a seat because we were full. And I believe, I can't remember right now, but somebody backed out and I had a spot open and I had to decide who do I put in that seat to make that show perfect. And I was like, I got to get Garrett in there. And I asked him, and sure enough, because he was going to be an alternate for that game actually. And sure enough, he ended up being on that show and he ended up being a regular every week after that pretty much. And we built that Friday show consistently after that, and it got bigger and bigger, and he became a key piece of the show. And me and Nick became closer and closer with him as friends. And I've actually, my best stories for him probably are off the belt because we hung out a few times and had some crazy times, like just going out to bars or whatever in LA. But he's a great guy and an even better poker player. And we're looking forward to having him on our show and building some big games, and having him be a part of it.
And a quote from Larry Flint is, I want white chip games in my casino. So we're going to bring him white chip games.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Well, guys, if the people want to keep on top of either of you or the Hustler Casino Live, is there a good place for them to do that, or any social media accounts they should be keeping an eye on?
Yeah, our Twitter is HCL Poker Show, and then Instagram is @Hustler Casino Live. And yeah, And we'll have a YouTube channel as well. YouTube is also Hustler Casino Live. You can follow me on Twitter at the Ryan Feldman. You can follow Nick on Twitter at, I believe it's Nick Vertucci NV.
No, I don't know what it is. Let me tell you. But I'm going to look right now. It's Nick_Vertucci.
Oh, is that what on Twitter?
Oh, Twitter?
Twitter,
Oh,
Twitter. Yeah.
I don't know what my Twitter is.
Yeah,
So you probably know. Okay.
Well, yeah, I'm sure other people will find it, and I'll link to it in the show
Yeah,
notes.
yeah. It's at Nick Vertucci, capital NV. He's right.
There you go. Well, guys, thanks for taking the time to chat with me, and good luck with the show. I'm going to look forward to, after this pandemic's over, getting out there to Hustler Casino for the first time, and who knows, maybe I'll get a seat in the game.
Yeah, for sure, anytime.
Well, I'm always excited for more great streaming poker content. I'm sure Jeff will be commentating there in no time and be deeply invested in the hustler scene. It seems like a scene that Jeff could just get behind. But I think we really need to talk about the World Series of Poker. So this was clearly the biggest news story to emerge from this last week. Ty Stewart announced that they're going to, and we're talking literally 2020 is about to end. We are at the very end points of 2020, and all of a sudden it's like we're going to try to just squeeze in a champion really quick before the end of 2020. And Chad, you broke the story to me, so let's just first give me your thoughts.
I'm very excited to finally be able to talk about this because, truth be told, I've known behind the scenes workings for quite some time now. For a couple months, I know they were trying to pull off something. I didn't know it was going to be exactly what they came up with, but I knew they were working hard to make something happen. And of course, couldn't say much, but certainly can now, as news did break, Sarah, that, like you said, there's going to be a traditional $10,000 buy-in main event. It's going to be a freeze out. This is going to be a hybrid online and live tournament between WSOP.com for domestic US players and GGpoker for international players. And they're going to be two separate tournaments at first, right? So, with regulations, there's just no way to mingle these into a single field. And so what they're going to do is that on WSOP.com, so open to players in Nevada and New Jersey, on December 13th, there is going to be a single day one flight. $10,000 buy-in, you can play. You make day two on Monday, December 14th. And on day two, they are going to play down to a final table of 9 players. Now that final table will now then take a hiatus until December 28th, where they will all be flown out to Las Vegas to play on ESPN, to play, like a kind of November 9 final table, if you will, at the Rio. The Rio is reopening, I think, on December 22nd. So it's going to be open. They will play to a winner, and prize money for the tournament will be awarded. Now on GGpoker, there'll be something similar, except for there's going to be 3 starting flights on November 29th, December 5th, and December 6th. On day 2, on December 7th, they'll play down to the final table. And then those players are slated to go to King's Casino on Tuesday, December 15th, and play down to a winner. Now, this is where it gets kind of exciting, is the winner from the GGpoker portion and the winner from the WSOP.com portion will travel to Las Vegas on December 30th. It's going to be a Wednesday, and they will play a heads-up match for $1 million that is going to be added by GGpoker and the WSOP. It's going to be for the bracelet, and it's going to be for the title of the 2020 World Series of Poker Main Event champion. So it's definitely a little unorthodox. It's definitely a little unique. There are still, a lot that could go wrong, if you will, with the pandemic and COVID. They do have a lot of safeguards in place, and they do have backup plans in place as well. So, for instance, if King's Casino can't hold the final table for the GGpoker portion, they might go to a different venue. They might have to play that final table out online. They do have backups. Their main goal, though, is to have a main event champion crowned in 2020. So no matter what happens, look for it to play out by the end of the year.
And Jeff, just since we're in the spot of getting to look and judge and say our opinions about everything, what's your opinion?
You know what, Sarah, to be honest, I love it. I mean, as what comes with most poker announcements, it gets pretty beaten up on Twitter. Poker Twitter is not the most welcoming, not the most accommodating to to Caesars, especially when they try new things with the World Series of Poker. They're trying something here, and I completely understand the poker community's concerns with the travel that is set up for this tournament and some of the difficulty in travel that this whole world is facing during the pandemic. But I also see Caesars just trying here. I mean, Chad spoke with Ty Stewart, and I believe Stewart when he says that, he's like, we're not going to profit off this 2020 World Series of Poker main event, but there is an opportunity here to have a main event, to have the 10K freeze out, to have the ESPN coverage of the World Series of Poker, which is probably the most valuable thing for our industry as far as exposure is concerned every single year. And in addition to all of that, Caesars is putting up an additional $1 million. So I love how they're working this out. You know, are there some minor flaws in the system? Probably. I mean, if you show up in Vegas for the final table and you test positive for COVID, you just get DQ'd. Good game. You get the lowest possible payouts. But I don't really know a great way around that. Maybe they could just blind you out instead. But it's tough. It's tough with the pandemic going on. And I just like to see that the effort is there. I think it's going to be a massive field on GG. I have no clue what to expect as far as the US version is concerned. I don't know if there will be 200 or 300 players or 1,200 or 1,300 players, but I love that we get the opportunity to have a main event champion, to have the bracelet, to have that ESPN coverage. I think it's really, really good for the game just to do something. And the bubble concept, in a sense, in poker, and when we saw it with high stakes poker and with Poker After Dark over these last couple of weeks, it has worked. It's within the PokerGo studio. I'm sure it's still run by Poker Central when it's at the Rio. So hopefully it works there. It works at King's Casino, and you know, we can have a really solid World Series of Poker main event.
Yeah, I have to agree. I was super excited about it, but mostly just because I love the coverage. And I think you're 100% right. You know, especially with how many people are sitting at home who are experimenting with, exploring with content. Maybe there's less content coming out now because people are not shooting as many films and TV shows, etc. It's a great opportunity to make some poker related content that people hopefully we'll be into, and hopefully we can find some good, interesting storylines to follow and get into. And again, it's sort of like a hybrid November 9 type thing where we may actually have some time to build up some storylines, which I always love and am excited about. Now, not everyone is so excited. Of course, we spoke earlier in the year to the the online World Series of Poker champion, who I want to say we were referring to as the World Series of Poker main event champion. And understandably, he's, you know, not so excited about the whole situation. Chad, we got an article coming out on PokerNews. Stoyan, he's pissed, right?
Yeah. So Stoyan Madanzhiev out of Bulgaria won the GGpoker WSOP online main event for $3.9 million back in, I think it was early September, and was, you know, the main event champion, at least for the online series. Now, it's important to remember the WSOP did say that they had hoped to hold a live version of the main event. That started all the way back when they first postponed back in April or May, whenever it may have been, that they were going to come up with this online version, but they still hope to do something in the fall. And here we are at the end of the year, you know, going into the winter season. But so the WSOP did say that, so you can't fault them there. I understand that he's, you know, upset thinking that he was the main event champion, and that now there's going to be a new main event champion. There's a couple things to that. You know, the way I feel about it is, you know, Ty Stewart did tell me that, you know, tradition is important to the WSOP, and that to him, the main event means a 10K freeze out, period. That he said it hasn't changed in 51 years, won't start now. And when you think about it, yes, the main event has always been a 10K and a freeze out, whereas the summer event was a 5K that did allow for, I think, up to 3 re-entries. So there were some significant differences there. There was no, you know, live element to it. And so even if we didn't have this end of the year, you know, main event, and Stoyan did kind of go down in history as the main event champion, it kind of would have been with an asterisk. And believe me, I know what it's like to live with a bracelet that has an asterisk attached to it. You know, people like to remind me that the casino employees isn't a real bracelet, and I'm sure, you know, that would have been something that wasn't the real main event or what have you. To that, I would say, look, you still won the largest online poker tournament in history. You know, it's a Guinness Book of World Records holding tournament. You still won $3.9 million, which is a huge payday. And you still are a bracelet winner. You're still in history. You still did win the WSOP online main event, as it were. But, you know, I can certainly understand the frustration, though. I know a lot of players feel the same way, you know, kind of have his back in that regard. I did ask Ty Stewart about this. I said, you know, kind of what's the WSOP's position? And, you know, it's a very political, generic one, just saying, you know, congratulations, Stoyan. Well done to make history, winning the Guinness Book of World Records, largest ever online event. Congratulations on your bracelet and 3.9 million. And so kind of just glossed over it a little bit, but
it's like
I don't
a
know.
Jeff Platt response right there. Just like a sick needle, but like with a smile on the face.
A little wink at the end. I'm
a poker historian, if you will, a big fan of tradition and the WSOP, and I do like that what the WSOP is doing here to keep the 10K freeze out alive, to have the live element to it, to make it a spectacle, because as much as we love the online stuff this summer, it was like a placeholder, right? Like we were just trying to get through 2020. There wasn't the same excitement as you get with the WSOP main event, that you get to having people at the final table battling it out and getting to watch it on ESPN. I mean, that's just a fact that online and live don't capture the attention and don't capture the same audience as one another.
And to Chad's point, the World Series of Poker has always planned for the possibility of a 2020 live main event. I was doing the broadcasting for this online main event, and I was just referring to it as the main for, I guess, too often. And WSOP got in touch with our production staff and said, make sure he is clarifying that this is the online main event. So I think when you title it that way consistently, and Stoyan, by the way, probably hates me because I mispronounced his name throughout the broadcast, and then I'm saying, well, that wasn't really the main event, but that's okay. I do get his frustration. It did look like he was going to be the representative for the 2020 World Series of Poker main event, but this is what they've always planned. They've always tried to give this a shot, to find a way to put a 10K freeze out live on ESPN, just like our past World Series of Poker main event. So I side with the WSOP on this one.
If they didn't do that, you know, if they said, okay, we're going to hold this online version of the WSOP this summer, this is it, no big plans for anything else, and then all of a sudden they just sprung this on everybody at the end of the year, I'd certainly be very opposed to it. But like Jeff said, they were very upfront, very clear that they had always hoped to do something like this towards the end of the year. You know, they were hoping to have a full WSOP at one point at the end of the year, you know, with 80 events or what have you at the Rio. Of course, the world didn't develop in such a way that allowed that, with the pandemic still going in full force and what have you. And so this is just an adaptation. And I do commend them because believe me, like I said, I've known about this for a while. I know the hoops that they were jumping through, not just WSOP, you know, GGpoker had to jump through a lot of those hoops too. And it's not a money grab, if you will. Some people on social media were saying that, like Jeff said, and Ty Stewart said in the interview, like they're going to lose money on this between the $1 million that they're going to put up for it, the expenses that they incur with the production for ESPN, with flying players out to Vegas, putting them up, and all that things with COVID testing, all those sorts of things that, you know, if they do make any money, it's going to be very minimal. You know, this certainly isn't a money grab. So I do think their intentions are good in just trying to respect and live up to that history that they have been entrusted with.
Well, I would hope that we are going to get a sound bite of Stoyan, and if so, we will add that right now. And either way, we're going to take a little break and give a shout out to our sponsors who are fully related to what we have just been talking about.
I mean, everybody started calling me the world champion, all the interviews, all the people around. They made it look like that with the way they presented the tournament, with the way they give me the certificate. And I felt, and I started believing I'm the running world champion of 2020. I still think that that's correct. So what should I say? I mean, it felt weird. I didn't really understood. Like my initial feeling was that they're just trying to make some more money, and of course that didn't feel well with me. Like this was like nothing for them, and I lost my respect for WSOP basically. I won money. It's the best year in poker for me. That's true. But what are they doing? Like they're presenting a tournament. They say it's the World Series of Poker. That's how they made me play. It was a good tournament with $5,000 buy-in, with $25 million guaranteed. But would I play it if it wasn't the World Series of Poker main event? I'm not sure, because there was a big tournament at Party Poker 2 years ago. It was with $5K buy-in, $20 million guaranteed. I was approximately in the same financial situation I was before I played the main event. I didn't play that one. I was playing some 1K live. I knew the tournament was going at Party Poker. Many players were talking about that. I didn't play that one. I wanted to play the main event. It always was a dream for me. And I believe many players out there were also with this incentive. They were expecting that they were playing the main event and they would win and will be eventually the world champion. Of course, the chance is small, but the chance is there. They're playing for that.
GGpoker continues to revolutionize online poker with exclusive new games and features that set it apart from the opposition. Play at neck-breaking speed on the site's exciting spin and gold jackpot sit and go events and win big, or grind it out in the weekly $300,000 guaranteed GG Masters. You guys will not want to miss out on the GGpoker bonuses. You can get either $100 in cash and free tickets, or 100% match bonus up to a maximum of $600. You guys definitely do not want to miss out on their match deposit bonus. You can check that out on PokerNews.com. Be sure to search GGpoker bonus on PokerNews.com.
Hey man, what you doing?
Playing WSOP.
What's up?
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 What's up? What's up?
What's up?
Excited about WSOP? Go all in. Download the official WSOP app for free. WSOP. Respect the game. Play.
So Chad, a quick question. We had mentioned that you talked with World Series of Poker executive director Ty Stewart. He was implying that Bally's would hold some side events. He also said there will not be any other WSOP bracelet events at the Rio. Does that give you the impression that a couple of Bally's events could offer World Series of Poker bracelets? I mean, you said it, there's no way to put in an entire 60 to 80 event schedule, but could Bally's have a couple of side World Series of Poker bracelet events, or just some action on the side and some decent tournaments?
No, so this will be the only bracelet event that is awarded. I do think there'll be like a little series. I don't know if it'll maybe be a circuit series for rings, or maybe it will just be, here's some offerings while you're in town at Bally's. You know, they're doing a back to action series right now as we're recording this. And so it just makes sense. Some people will be in town. They want to play a little poker. Let's put on a little something, but it won't be for bracelets. I think GGpoker could very well put on an online series built around the main event, right? But I don't think it won't be for bracelets. It probably won't be for rings. So it'll just be like a side offering, if you will. Remember when the Rio used to do, like, they'd have the WSOP events and then they have the Carnival of poker, or they had, their daily deep stacks. It'll be stuff like that. Just a little appetizer, if you will.
I also like, by the way, Ty took a little bit of a shot at the WSOP.com operator 888 Poker. He says, we need 888 Poker to bring Poker 8, which is their new client, to the US yesterday. So the new features we must have and players deserve is a different topic, but change is coming. And again, that's probably a topic for another day, but I can see how WSOP maybe isn't particularly thrilled with the 888 client.
Yeah, that's true. And you heard it here first, folks. Dropped from Jeff. Jeff's causing all of these storms and firing the gossip shots. Also, for those who can't tell or see, Chad's dogs just keep like coming up and jumping behind him, and it's super duper cute and extremely distracting for me because I love them, obviously. All right, well, we have one more story which I think warrants discussion, which is Landon Tice shipping the MSPT at the Venetian. You've heard from Landon quite a few times, I think, in the course of the last year or two. He's definitely one of those players that lots of players in the know, if you will, have been talking about, have been speculating about, and have been saying that he's, sort of the next big thing. So our local MSPT correspondent from Wisconsin, Chad Holloway, what's the story?
So yeah, Landon, it hasn't been like a year or two. It's been like 9 months maybe when Landon kind of burst onto the scene thanks to a friendship with Joey Ingram, right? Joey Ingram has kind of been beating the Landon Tice drum. And I actually got to meet Landon in July when I was in Las Vegas for the World Series of Poker. We went to Sahara for Jesse Folan, who's now the PokerNews social media manager. He had a birthday. So we said, let's go down to Sahara and play some 1-3 no limit hold'em. And he messaged Joey Ingram, who he's friends with, and Joey came down with Landon. I didn't know, nobody knew who Landon was at this time, right? So we introduced ourselves. And
are you talking about this summer?
Yes, just this past July. And so we play, and Landon crushes this 1-3 game, just absolutely destroys, wins, I don't know, like 2K or something. And it was pretty impressive. He was really good. He got some of my money, and I thought, wow, this is a pretty good kid. And me and Joey got into a conversation about kind of minting new superstars in the poker world, if you will, right? So we have a lot of the old guard that aren't really even that successful at poker anymore, whereas a lot of new up and comers could use a chance to really make a name for themselves. And Landon was a great example. He came up from online play, the micro stakes, and he was moving up, if you will. He was in Vegas that summer to take some shots, to play some of the online bracelet events. And while he didn't capture a bracelet, he did have success. He was winning like side events and banking some 5-figure scores. And it was pretty impressive. You just kept hearing his name. He's got a social media presence. I think he's got a Discord channel, and he's friends with Joey, and Joey's good at all those things. And so he's kind of, I think, mentoring him into making a name for himself in the poker world. Now the MSPT comes to town for their $1,100 Venetian event. These are always pretty big, and this one was no exception. 1,123 entries, a prize pool of more than $1 million. And long story short, Landon Tice wins it for $201,000. And I'm not joking. I was following the updates. We live reported this for PokerNews, and I messaged Jesse Folan, and I said, hey, Landon is going to, he was chip leader with, I think, 35 left. And I said, Landon's about to win this thing, and I went to bed and woke up the next morning, and sure enough, he won the tournament in an impressive fashion. I think he, was always among the chip leaders. And I gave a lot of thought to this. Like, man, Landon is just always crushing. And why is that? And I think that you get the spectrum in the world, right? We've all played with poker players who they're never going to win a major tournament. They just don't have that skill. They enjoy playing the game. They have fun. Maybe they'll make a final table or two, but they're never going to win a big tournament. And I think on the other end of the spectrum, at the top of the food chain, if you will, we have Landon, who is just never going to do bad in a tournament. Like, he's got all the skills. He is devoted, he's only 21, but he's devoted a lot of his life already to poker. Poker is his life right now. And I think he's going to be around for a long time. I think he's going to be crushing for a long time. And this live event at the MSPT was, I think, only the third live event that he's ever played, and he banks it for $201,000. So I won't be surprised if his meteoric rise continues. And, if there are global poker awards coming up, I think this is a name that should be nominated for Breakout Player of the Year.
Yeah, kid can play. There's no question about it. I know Berkey calls him a child of the sim, and we're way past the point of the sample size being too small. Like, to Chad's point, he's put up consistent results just in the last half of 2020, ever since he really just started playing tournaments overall. So I think he has an extremely bright future, seems to have a really good head on his shoulders. So I'm very curious to see what the next couple of years look like for him.
That'll be the interesting thing, right? Is he's got the poker skill. The game isn't going to be his downfall. It's, you're young and you've got all this money and you're venturing into the Vegas and the poker world. I mean, we've been around this industry enough to know that if you fall into the wrong things, that it could lead to a quick downfall. But if, like you said, he's got a good head on his shoulders, if he just wants to continue crushing poker and can avoid all those temptations and distractions, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see him firing high rollers at some point in, the next couple years.
It's interesting to consider what his rise might have looked like had the world been a little bit different for him at 21. It's, interesting, like in the Malcolm Gladwell book, The Tipping Point, I think it was The Tipping Point, where he talks a little bit about, say that there are oftentimes, like in hockey, I think he brings up, when you look at professional hockey players, that it oftentimes turns out that they're maybe born so that they're like the bigger kids on the team, during times, but just that there are all these factors that go into things that we see as, the it factor for people. And that we can clearly see someone like Landon has the, quote unquote, it factor. But his rise just might be more slower and ultimately maybe more difficult in some ways, only because he doesn't have as many opportunities to explode on the scene, if you will, the same way maybe he could have a couple years ago, and maybe he will in a couple of years. Yeah,
imagine a kid like Landon coming up in 2006, 2007. I mean, he'd final table a WSOP event, and he'd instantly get like an online poker sponsorship deal, and he would just be all over the map. He'd be on magazine covers and everything, and then he wins a live tournament, and it's like, forget about it. He's the next big poker superstar. Instead, exactly what Sarah's saying, he just doesn't have all of this opportunity, but maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it's allowed him to settle down a little bit, to study, to focus on his life, on his game. And that's what's led to his upswing of sorts recently.
Well, we'll get to see if he goes back to back, because there is another MSPT Venetian this weekend. It's a $1,600 buy-in, $400K guaranteed main event, 3 starting flights. We're going to be offering live updates on PokerNews for that. So by the time this episode comes out, they should be in full swing. So click on over to PokerNews.com and check out those updates to see if Landon can crush it again.
Well, we will, of course, have all of the action for you guys per the usual, as we keep track of the Doug v. Daniel matchups, as we crown a champion in the EPT online, as we kickstart the World Series of Poker, hybrid main event, all the things coming. But next week here in the Mercas, it is Thanksgiving. And so next week's episode will be a little bit shorter and a holiday gift guide for the poker player in your life. So you guys will have that to look forward to next week. In the meantime, of course, we would appreciate if you would like, rate, review, say something nice. If you don't have anything nice to say, you know what they say about that. You can follow Chad A. Holloway, at Jeff Platt, at Auntie Chardonnay. We welcome, positive feedback. And also, if you have interesting stories or players you think we should interview, please let us know. Thank you so much for listening. Deuces.
The key to winning big is using every little bit of knowledge to your advantage. At Oddschecker, we give you the edge. better odds, better picks, and better offers to make you a better bettor. Why settle for less? Quickly compare the odds at every sportsbook to ensure that you're getting the best price to maximize your return. Not only that, but we have experts on every sport, from hoops and football through to soccer and boxing. Our experts analyze the form and study the stats to deliver you totally free picks and parlays. Oddschecker also highlights the most lucrative welcome offers in the industry. If you're looking to open an account, then you are eligible for hundreds of dollars in totally free bets. If you're new to legal sports betting, then we're here to help, offering simple advice to understand betting guides and updates on your state's current legislative situation. Visit us at www.oddschecker.com/US. Oddschecker, sports betting smarter.